What's terrifying about a combination of Velcro and a sponge?
How did I sponge thousands of dollars off the Norwegian taxpayer?
How did a sponge help a man to be upgraded on a Qantas flight?
And what belief from ancient Rome could stop you getting pregnant today?
Oh, please, you have to tell us that now. Don't want to get pregnant.
Sam, I feel like if we're worrying about your pregnancy, we've already got some other things to talk about.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everything You Didn't Need to Know About. Today, we are talking everything you didn't need to know about sponges. Yep, sponges. Of course, we will be giving our favourite facts that we found out about sponges. And then at the end of the episode, we will all be voting on our favourite facts. Will it be from Nathan Kenny? Will it be from Thom Adams? Will it be from Jewell? We will find out at the end of this video.
So my fact was about ancient Roman beliefs and how they can stop people from getting pregnant today. The wording of that was very deliberate, but in ancient Rome, they believed that if you put a piece of sea sponge inside your vagina, it would catch all the sperm and stop it from going into the uterus and impregnating you. This was not true because sponges are famously quite porous. Which means sperm just kind of get lost for a little bit and then they're like, oh yeah, we're going.
I have a question about this because there's an episode of Seinfeld called The Sponge, which is all about this. And I didn't know that that was a form of contraceptive that was actually used until the mid-90s. And
no.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, so fun fact, you can still buy contraceptive sponges in the United States and Canada today. And in the United States, the only one I could find on the market is called Today.
And that's the type of sponge they refer to in the Seinfeld episode as well. It's the Today sponge.
Rather than an actual sea sponge that's just been balled up and...
Yeah, I presume that it was from the Today Show. I presume they had a brand of Today sponges. That was my reason.
I mean, you know, the 90s were big on just merchandising everything. So maybe there is. I'm sure there are.
Speaking of branded things, I found out that, related to sponges as well, that you can get a SpongeBob SquarePants themed rectal thermometer.
Of course you can. What else would you think about that?
Yeah, fair enough.
But the only person that benefits is the person administering the temperature test.
So if a kid is taking your temperature, it's a perfect one.
And it's because if the thermometer's too cold, when they stick it up your butt, you go, oh.
I just thought of a fact about SpongeBob as well. That's quite interesting. The voice of SpongeBob is Thom Kenny.
So cool.
Oh my God.
What?
Maybe it's us and like sponges. We split in half, taking one half of each of our names. Yeah,
love that.
Every time Kenny and I meet, we combine and record a whole bunch of episodes of SpongeBob, and then discombine and go off and live our merry lives. It's great. We live for longer.
Is that why they stopped making new SpongeBob? Because Kenny moved to France.
Yeah.
Yeah, SpongeBob with a French accent was weird. Does not work.
Oh no! 1 year later.
Yeah.
Are these contraceptive sponges actual sponges or are they artificial ones?
Now they are artificial ones, but in fairness to the Romans, who I shouldn't shit on, although that does come up later as well, they eventually realized that just a sponge didn't work, and so they started dipping it in
hot sauce.
Oh, I'm going to forget what it's called now. Silicate or something? No, not quite lead. But yeah,
honey.
they started... No, honey was also supposed to be sticky and just stop the sperm from getting through. Apparently that was a lot more efficacious. It was actually, it worked a lot better. Yeah. But the modern ones are just synthetic and they have just spermicide in them. But the ancient Roman one did eventually adapt to include a tree bark or something that was, too acidic for the sperm to survive.
I love that you could use one of those squirty bears that you squeeze it and it actually squirts the honey, and that seems like it would be more applicable.
Well, if you got one of them there, you wouldn't really be keen on having sex, would you?
I feel like it wouldn't be fun. Certainly not the day after when you developed a yeast infection immediately.
And when bees fly in there.
It also doesn't kind of make a lot of sense because isn't the whole thing like semen is supposed to be full of like glucose and stuff, like give the sperm extra energy? So wouldn't they be like, yes, more energy? I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Except they're trying to move faster through a very viscous substance. So yeah.
Thom just said he's not a scientist. You're a scientist, aren't you, Thom? Isn't that your job?
He's a scientician.
Yeah, and in fact, a zoology major, so I should know more.
I just can't get the image out of my head. You know when Pooh Bear eats too much honey and gets stuck halfway?
Oh my gosh, yes. That's actually based on an old contraceptive video that Walt Disney made back in the day.
Yeah, they'd stick a bear up there, and
I mean, to be fair, if you stuck a bear up your snatch, you would definitely not get pregnant.
And that's how the myth of menstruation attracting bears came from. That's exactly where it came from.
You just can't get rid of them afterwards either. And then behind them, there's a rabbit. He's just
pushing.
Did you guys know that the guy who voiced Winnie the Pooh is also the voice of Optimus Prime?
Yes.
That is a crossover I want to
Peter
see.
Cullen, amazing.
It's kind of funny talking about this, about sponges. So someone would have gone out and harvested sea sponges for contraceptives, which would have been like a whole market. But that's not hard. Like sea sponges are everywhere. Like where I live in Wellington, like just off the coast in Kapiti, it's like a rainforest of sponges. There's heaps of them there, but you got to be careful about which sponge you'd use because there are sponges that they have in California, which I discovered, which are carnivorous.
Cool.
Oh, they've got them deep sea ones as well. But unless you're a copepod, you're probably okay. I'd worry more about the ones with the toxic things that use the hard spicules to aggravate your skin after you touch them. Or there's even ones that are called petrosia, and that name comes from rock. So you know what you're getting into if you have one of those where the sun does not shine.
So the fact that the carnivorous sponges that I was looking at, they are shaped like a harp. Yeah, they catch and kill crustaceans and things like that as well. They're amazing, but like terrifying. But they're called Chondrocladia lyra, and they look like a harp. It's really
lyra.
Bizarre.
That's
like a lyre.
But when you said they're shaped like a harp, I imagined that they have like strings, and the strings are what they use to catch like a net. I realize that's probably not correct.
Heartstrings.
Yeah, kind of in reverse. So it's like a curve, and then these kind of bits at the top, and they got like these big hooks that come off them. Yeah, and they're terrifying. And like if you get caught in the spicules, little spikes, they just ooze this digestive stuff around you and just digest you alive. I mean, not you specifically, but I mean that would actually be actually now that I think about it, probably a useful contraceptive because it would just catch and kill and eat the sperm, and you could just have
you could train it to live inside your vagina. Then you could also just get rid of unwanted boyfriends.
yeah. It just comes out with half a dick.
Oh, have you guys seen? There's a movie called Teeth that I saw because I'm a dentist, but it's about what's
Did
the
you
thing?
have a vagina dentata in
Vagina
your
dentata.
training?
Vagina dentata, yeah. These old vaginas with old teeth in them
But
to bite off
forget the
people's
tagline.
dicks.
Forget Libra Fleur. Go with Lyra Fleur.
Nice.
It's very good, kid.
I like that. Being a sponge in ancient Rome was a rough gig. You either got whammed up someone's purse, or you got passed around in a communal bathroom as a xylospongium, which is a communal shit sponge.
Oh.
So that's my Saturday.
It feels like a very thorough clean.
The first one of the day would be a thorough clean, but I feel like once you get to sort of 2 a.m., I mean, are you cleaning or just moving stuff around?
Yeah.
They don't have running water, so you're just kind of creating a mélange.
What does mélange mean?
As French for mixture. Sounds fancy.
Yeah.
Did you know that Tom Kenny, who was
So-
the voice of SpongeBob, he was also on a television show called Mr. Show, starring Bob and David, Bob Odenkirk and David Cross, who you may know as Tobias Funke from a television show called Arrested Development. He was also
And Better
in
Call
Scary
Saul.
Movie 2.
And Paul F. Tompkins.
And Paul F. Tompkins, yeah, you're right.
Mm.
And Jack Black and Sarah Silverman. Everyone should
And
watch
Scott
Mr. Show.
Thank you.
Did you know that
okay.
Sponge is the name of an English rock band? But when you spell it with a U, and when you spell it with an O, it's the name of an American rock band. Thank you.
Is it pronounced the same?
Yep,
Is
Sponge
it like
and Sponge.
Sponge and Sponge? Okay.
Yeah.
Sponges are one of my favorite animals because they're like the earliest animal. They're kind of the most basic animal thing. They're just basically a whole bunch of cells that hang out together and move water through themselves and eat and hang out and chill. But they're incredibly complex and do really, really interesting things. And they can kind of, in some cases, almost decide, change their roles at various points. Very cool creatures. But it's kind of funny that they're this really basic creature that's been around for forever, basically, for as long as there's been animals, effectively.
So they're just like sharks. They kind of hit an evolutionary peak and then went, I'm good.
Sharks wish they were sponges.
Yeah, I read that. I think this has since been debunked, but the idea, there's this idea that sponges actually come from a common ancestor to animals, so they're like all completely separate from every other animal in the entire world. But I think that's then they've realized when they were testing that they included something that wasn't meant to be included.
There's a bit of debate over whether sponges or these other things that look like disco jellyfish called ctenophores are the outgroup to all other animals. But sponges seem the most logical one because they don't have any form of nervous system. So if the nervous system evolved and then sponges got rid of them, it'd be a bit weird. Sponges, very simple body plan, but definitely animals, eat like animals, move around as juveniles like animals, and in some ways they're more complex than other ones. So we have about 25,000 genes. Your average sponge has about 40,000. So
yeah,
I wear corduroy.
Just code for like a lot of those genes just code for things like attitude and joie de vivre.
So Kenny, quick question. If sponges eat the same way animals do, can we then take it that they excrete like animals do? And follow-up question, if a sponge wipes itself on itself after pooing, does it get less clean?
Whoa.
I've got a nosebleed.
Yeah, sure.
Yay, scientific consensus.
Kenny, if you'd like, I can take this one. Jen, that's completely wrong. They do excrete, but not with bums. They don't have anuses. They just kind of excrete it from the cells themselves and then scoot it out.
So I'm just imagining a little sponge sitting there and they're just gently pooing out of all of its orifices constantly.
Yeah, kind of. And then it kind of gets funneled out with the water that funnels through them. So they basically become like a little bidet.
I call them B-days, and I always think of birthday. Like whenever you say happy B-day to someone. What better treat to get on your birthday than a clean anus?
Going around as a kid, I thought they were for cleaning your feet.
And that's what the toilet's for. You put your feet in there, make sure your feet is nice and clean first, then you hop out, take a dump in the sink.
Yep.
Kenny and I lived with someone who told us that he used to push the poo down the plug hole using his toes.
It's called a waffle stomp. I wish I didn't know that.
Did this just come up in conversation, or was this something he just walked into the room one day and was like, FYI?
Yeah, I think he just told us.
Guys, you'll never believe what I did.
So in my day job, I am a scientist and I work on many different animals, including sponges. And sometimes when I'm going and getting them, I'm on big boats off the coast where there is not normally Wi-Fi.
Oh, I like big boats, and I cannot lie.
But you can take your computer on because there's lots of space and there's not much to do for long periods of time. And I was on a Norwegian boat called the GeoSARS, had my computer. There is very limited internet that is meant to be used for things like just text-based communication, maybe an email. And I left my computer open in my room and went and did sponge collecting stuff. And my computer decided that it was going to update Garageband and Pages. Amazing. And downloaded like 2 gigabytes worth of data over the super slow satellite phone link. And I'll probably receive a bill after this because it cannot have been cheap. So there you go. Sponges costing the Norwegian taxpayer lots of money from way back. So we were collecting from a place called the Schultz Massif, which is an undersea mountain and has sponges growing on it. Because in the deep sea, all the stuff that a coral reef does in shallow water can't be done by coral. Coral needs light. Sponges can filter feed and take out food. So all of the 3-dimensionality is provided by sponges, and we were gathering some of those.
Amazing. So you were stealing from nature, like one of the baddies on Captain Planet.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
We were taking lots of photos.
Oh, move on.
There was the occasional sponge that was collected, but we used an ROV, which is a remote operated vehicle, which people who are cleverer than I do pilot. And it's about the size of a car, and it goes down on a very long rope and can select individual things off the seafloor. So,
like
that's the thing
that they sent into the Titanic.
Yeah, and it's got little grabby hands, like a little claw game,
or like a little creep, like a Harvey Weinstein or something.
Yeah,
I love how like all these like they go down and like collect up all the sponges, and then I pick them up and they like identify them, and pretty much every sponge they find, they're like, this sponge has something that could cure cancer in it. And everyone's like, yay, we've cured cancer. And then they're like, no, turns out there's no more sponges left. We're going to try another sponge.
One of the sponges that was being collected is one that is being used now for breast cancer treatment, because sponges they grow by cells grow and grow and grow and grow. You might have heard this before in other contexts. So being able to use the molecules that they have to stop that can be quite useful. There
is literally a molecule that they're working on called polariside down in the Polaris Sounds, which is based around that kind of research as well. And it's a microtubule inhibitor, basically stops the microtubules inside of the cells that cause the mitosis, the division, to form, and so cancer cells which divide like crazy can't divide.
So cool. Although calling it polariside kind of makes it sound like it's a like pesticide for Polaris dolphins.
Yeah,
which is concerning because they're highly endangered.
Yeah. Hey, Jen, it sounds like these sponges could have helped you with your cancer as well.
Yeah, they could have done. Well, on the bright side, I no longer have to worry about getting pregnant, so no more sponges for me.
If only you'd put a sponge up there.
They put a whole bunch of stuff up there. It could have. Actually, no, they did put sponges up there.
Yay!
Maybe that's what cured the cancer after all. It wasn't.
I know we started like joking about this, but I'm quite uncomfortable now.
Well, what I was going to say was, Kenny, it sounds like they were in fact not a simple sponge. Would you agree with that?
Not simple at all. But
excellent. So the SpongeBob musical is based on facts, is what I'm hearing.
All I can think of is the old lady who swallowed a fly, and we're talking about setting up bears and sponges.
It's a complicated ecosystem. Like you said it yourself, they're related to all known mammals.
It's practically a rainforest up there.
With sea levels rising, is sponges the answer? More sponges in the ocean, keep the level down. Is that how it's going to work?
No, but
cool.
They are taking over. They are taking over from coral with climate change happening.
Oh, good on them.
But isn't there black coral that grows where there's no light?
Less light, so about 200 meters down normally. So that's something that comes from Fiordland.
Yeah, I was going to say, because they have the stuff in Milford Sound that's like, it normally grows way, way, way deep, and this stuff grows like 2 meters below the surface of the water because Milford's messed up and gets its annual rainfall in meters, not centimeters.
Yeah. Did you guys know that sponge cake was originally from Italy? They brought it to like England and France from Italy, but they called it biscuits. And then it became sponge cake. And I think I've done a pretty extensive study of this between myself and my wife, and we have both decided that sponge cake is the worst cake. Discuss.
Sponge cake's like the tofu of cakes. Like it's only as good as the things that you bake it with and you surround it with.
It's a building
sponge
block.
Cake is it's a good construction cake. It's like concrete.
Yep.
You know, good for building the interior, but terrible. We don't want brutalism in cake form, but that's what sponge cake is.
Well said.
Yeah, we participated in trifle for Vaxathon. So on Saturday we made a trifle, and that involved buying a massive sponge cake, because you can't buy a small sponge cake at the supermarket. You have to buy a massive fuck off sponge cake.
You're just trying to give it away because it's disgusting.
Yeah, we have like half a sponge cake left, and we've just been kind of nibbling at it.
I love the idea that you accidentally bought an actual sponge. You're just chewing away at it. Oh, this is
awful.
Oh,
that would be why my jelly didn't set.
I took the term sponge to mean someone who's good at absorbing information. Like you soak things up like a sponge. So I'm not sure if you've seen the movie Rain Man. It won Best Picture. It stars Dustin Hoffman as a guy called Raymond Babbitt, who his brother's with Tom Cruise. I think I have never seen the movie. My fact relates to the fact that during an early scene in the movie, Dustin Hoffman's character lists off a reason why most airlines are bad and they lose planes crash, and people die, and that scene is really often cut from airlines when you watch the movie on the plane, obviously. Apart from, in that movie, he says that Qantas have never lost an airline, and so Qantas keep that scene in there. They keep the scene in there to brag about it, and so much so that one time when one of the writers of the film went on a Qantas flight, he got upgraded to first class because they were so grateful for them giving the big ups. And apparently that fact is true to this day, that Qantas has never lost an airline.
Does that make it really awkward when you're on a code share flight and you're like, well, I'm on a Qantas plane, but my ticket says Air New Zealand?
I wonder which half of the flight is going to be all right.
I saw a story about it was Dustin. I think it was Dustin Hoffman playing in a role with Laurence Olivier, and Dustin Hoffman's like a hard out method actor, and this was like a torture scene. So he was like staying up really late, like getting himself in a really messed up position, and so that he could like be in this kind of torture scene. And Laurence Olivier is like, I don't know, have you tried acting?
Apparently it was after they went to shoot the scene and Dustin stopped the cameras just before they were about to roll and was like, no, I can't do it, and went for a run around the block. And when he came back, Olivia was just like, you should try acting.
To get ready for Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman lived and he worked with people with savant syndrome for like a year, and he had previously worked in a mental health facility. So he was really into it, and it was his idea to play this character as a savant rather than just someone who was mentally disabled, which is pretty cool. Like the first director of the movie actually left because they disagreed on that, which I thought was pretty funny.
Amazing.
And the other thing I found out, there's a guy called Stefan Wiltshire who is a savant, and he has this great thing where whenever he goes to a new city, he goes in a helicopter flight across the city just once, lands, and then draws the entire city from memory. On
seeing his drawing of London.
Canvases. It's amazing. And it's so
incredible.
Good.
It's like
detailed.
7 meters long or something. It's huge. And so
Tokyo,
detailed.
London, everywhere. He's an incredible artist. It's wonderful. And when they were filming Rain Man, apparently Dustin Hoffman would just wander off and play blackjack when they were filming in the casino, and like they'd just suddenly be like, "Where the hell is Dustin Hoffman gone?" And someone would have to go and look around all the thing, and they'd find him and bring him back. And he was.
So he's method until he's not method.
Yeah, he's method, but he's unprofessional as well.
Yeah, good.
He's method, but has a crippling gambling addiction.
Yeah.
Is the fact about Qantas still true though? Because didn't they have a period where in about 3 months they had all kinds of accidents? There was the engine that fell off the A380 in the middle of the Pacific, where there's like lots of water, but it fell on an island where there's like lots of land, and instead of falling on nothing, it fell on a house in the middle of nowhere. So, and a guy died or got seriously injured. So it was very Final Destination, like very.
Oh, no, it's Donnie Darko.
That's the whole premise of Donnie Darko. Because you mentioned Australian Donnie Darko, though. It'll be Doza Darko.
You're right. They've never lost a plane, as in a plane hasn't crashed and killed people, I think is the
they've never had a fatal accident.
Yeah.
But probably over the course of many years, they've lost the equivalent to a plane in parts,
Yeah. Oh, of course. Within the last year, they would have done that. Or like they've forgotten where they've parked it.
Was it also Qantas that had that snake in the fuselage?
There was snakes on the plane. Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
I think it was a Qantas flight, and after they took off, people were like, "Oh shit!" And there was a snake like flapping around because it had climbed up onto between the engine and the wing to like shelter from the sun. And then it came out and it was flopping all around like a mad thing.
Do you guys know how tall SpongeBob SquarePants is?
He's about that big on David Hasselhoff's back. So how big is David Hasselhoff?
He is, according to the show, he is 0.4 tall. They don't give the units. They just say he's 0.4.
Is that on his driver's license?
Yeah, 0.4.
Oh,
yep, you know the exact same.
My favorite headcanon of SpongeBob SquarePants is that because they're in Bikini Bottom, they are under the Bikini Atoll where the nuclear tests happen, and so they're all mutated creatures, and there's nothing like that anywhere else on the planet. It's just there. There's these mutated weird creatures. And
I think the creator of the show publicly came out and said, "No, that's not right. This is a fictional show in a fictional place."
What does Panic in the Disco, Sarah Bareilles, and They Might Be Giants have in common?
Oh,
they've all got amazing range.
Second thing that they have in common.
They all wrote the theme song to Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes. No, it's that they all performed on the original cast recording for SpongeBob SquarePants the musical.
Oh, amazing.
It's a modern classic.
That's great. Well, I think it's about time for us to vote on our favourite facts. Kenny, what was your fact?
I cost the Norwegians a lot of money.
That's good. Tom, what was your one?
That there are carnivorous sponges that catch things with their spikes.
Amazing. Jen, what was your one?
You can use a sponge as contraceptive, but only if you actually use chemicals.
Amazing. And my one was that the guy who wrote Rain Man got an upgrade on a Qantas flight because people could absorb knowledge like sponges. So let's have a vote. On the count of 3, I want you to point to the person you think had the best fact. 1, 2, 3, go.
I don't know what Kenny. Should I be
It's
this
3
one?
for Kenny. Nathan Kenny takes it out. 2 weeks in a row. Nice work, buddy. What a fact.
I am willing to talk for hours about sponges if you want, so flick me a message if you want me to. But more to the point, like, comment, subscribe, put your favourite sponge fact underneath this. We hope to see you again after our next episode, and join us again soon. Thanks for coming.
Peace. What should we do next week?